Welcome to the 200th episode of Wellness by Design. I'm your host, Jane Hogan, the Wellness Engineer. And wow, 200 episodes is a huge milestone. So I wanted to do something a little bit different for this episode. And so I actually am being interviewed by my dear friend, Kelly Kennedy, who's a kindred spirit. She's an expert in helping people flow and allow energy to flow through, but she's just a beautiful soul. And so when she offered to interview me for my 200th episode, I thought, wow, this will be fun. And it really gave me an opportunity to reflect over what this podcast has meant to me, what my big message is in the world. So we have a little interview together. And then after that, I've pulled out little excerpts from 10 episodes out of 200. I picked 10 little excerpts to share with you, all about empowerment and how you are the creator of your health. And I'm here to help you make it happen and give you those tools. And I'm sharing some of them with you today. So if you've been a longtime listener, I want to say thank you so much. If you're brand new, thank you also for being here. I would love it if you subscribed, if you left a review, a rating, and just shared some love with me, because sometimes when I'm just sitting here behind this microphone and I'm all alone, I am always thinking about you, the audience, listening, watching this, and how can I serve you? So if this has been helpful for you, let me know. Just share some love. And I just want to say I really, really appreciate it. All right, I'll see you inside the episode. Hope you enjoy it. Welcome to this very special episode of Wellness by Design today. Now, today the tables are going to turn a little bit. Usually it's me interviewing someone else, or it's me talking about a particular topic. But today I've got my dear friend, Kelly Kennedy, who's going to interview me for a change. So I'm super excited about this. Welcome, Kelly Kennedy.
Oh, thank you, Jane. And I am honored to celebrate and embrace this incredible milestone. It's actually totally believable, this amazing milestone of 200 episodes. And as we have all watched your journey as the wellness engineer, as the wellness by design of which you are very attentional, I wanted to, and I'm so honored to do this, to let your audience get to know you a little bit and understand why you started this and kind of what the journey has been for you. And I just want to start with, how did you start a podcast? How did that come for you?
Well, it started with Facebook Lives. So when I first started all this, I really wanted to talk about it, the things that I was learning. And at the time I was still working as an engineer and, in my job, and I talked to people at work, but well, they didn't want to hear it. And then I always joke that it didn't go over well at parties either. So I thought, I just need to talk about this. I knew I needed to talk about it. And of course, if you know my story at all, when I was at my rock bottom moment in desperate pain and really just not even wanting to live anymore, I had a download, a voice that was in my head, but it wasn't my voice, that said, your life isn't going to turn out like this. You're going to figure this out and you're going to teach other people. So I knew, like, from way back in the beginning, that I was going to teach people this. So I thought, okay, I got to start doing this. So I just started doing Facebook Lives. I had never done anything like that. I'm an introvert. I'm not really that comfortable putting myself out there. But I knew I had to do it. I couldn't teach in my own little corner with no one to listen to me. So I just started doing the Facebook Lives, committed to doing it every single week. And then I started, it was during COVID, and I started joining some online groups, and I saw that other people were interviewing, and I listened to podcasts. I really like them. So I started also interviewing other people for my little Facebook Live show. And then someone said, why don't you make that a podcast? You're doing all the stuff anyway. And so I thought, oh, I'll just take these interviews and I'll put them out in a podcast platform. So that's kind of how it evolved. It wasn't like I'm going to start a podcast and really intentional like that. It's just like I fumbled my way into it.
Well, yes. However, your intention was to share your
Yeah.
journey because, being told, hey, arthritis is going to take over your life, right? And you're just going to live in pain and you're going to be trapped in your body. And so many people are told that, and maybe that's not their diagnosis, but for various reasons, they're told they're going to be trapped in your body. And as a systems person, as an engineer, I love your passion, number one, that you were like, I got to teach this, even if it makes me uncomfortable, because it's that valuable.
Yep.
And number two, that I'm sure as an engineer, when you heard a voice that wasn't yours, could you talk about that moment for a moment?
Well, I've always been a little bit, I would say, woo. So I remember my mother taking me and my younger brother to the library on Saturday mornings. I don't know how old I was. I mean, 10 or younger. And I remember like stumbling across the occult section in the library. I'm like, what is this? What? And so I was always interested in that kind of like life beyond life.
Hmm.
Um, I loved always hearing anyone's encounters with, the supernatural. I just like, oh, tell me, I didn't have any of those experiences, but I kind of did. I kind of did because I remember I was 5 and I had gone to England to visit my grandparents. And I was in my grandmother's house, which was the house my mother had grown up in. And I was sleeping in the bed that my mother had slept in when she was a little girl. And my mother's father had died when she was around 12. So I had never met him. And I remember waking up during the night feeling like this hand,
Hmm.
like this on the side of my head. And it was very comforting and I knew it was him.
Wow.
Now I was 5.
Right.
Make this stuff up when you're 5. So I
Right.
always had that sort of feeling that there was something else. And then, even as working as an engineer, did Tai Chi. I I did Reiki training. So I've got level 2 Reiki practitioner training. And I was into meditation and my mother was really into, and later in life was into like spirit guides and things like that and read a lot of books on that. So I was always interested in that kind of thing. And so when I heard this voice, I knew it was real. I knew it was real. And I always felt, I think we all deep down feel like we've got a calling. And I knew I wasn't in it. I knew, well, I thought for a while it was to be a mother. And I loved being a mother. And I put everything into being a mother. And I still feel like that is my most important role. But there was something else. I knew there was something else beyond that. And I feel like what I'm doing now truly is a calling for my soul. It's just that's it. I know it's it. It doesn't feel like work. It's what I came here to do. I'm also into numerology, and I know my numerology, the human design, all of that stuff says I am supposed to be a teacher and a leader. So finally
And
stepping
to
in.
look at the system behind why you were doing that, which the engineer brain had to look at the energy, and then you started to figure it all out.
Yes,
So
yes.
as you started with Facebook, right? How far into your journey were you at that point?
I had, I think I was still doing, or I may have just finished my health coach training. So that was in 2019. So that was
Okay.
when I just was starting.
And so today, as you're recording this, it's 2025.
Mhm.
And what has changed in your approach or your philosophy of addressing wellness as by design, as the engineer?
Yeah.
How do you approach it? If you do, maybe not, differently today than you did in 6 years ago.
Okay. I think my underlying message hasn't changed. My underlying message is empowerment, that your healing comes from you, it comes from within you, which is a totally different message than we mostly hear. Mostly we hear like, go see who's going to fix me, who's going to do the surgery or give me the meds, or, and I mean, even in the natural health space, oh, who's going to give me the supplements? What diet do I need? That's, that is kind of what we're told. It's outside of us. So my message right from the beginning has always been, you are the one empowered, and you have to be intentional. It's by design, right? It's all about by design rather than by default. Because I knew I was reactive most of my life. And it was when I got intentional and really listened to my soul, or what felt right for me, that I could heal. And so that hasn't changed. I think I've gotten braver about talking about some things. So in the beginning, I wasn't talking about energy or, self-love, or, some of those kinds of things, or even quantum physics, and that whole, like, we are creating our reality. I wasn't talking about that as much. I was much more about in the safe zone of things I had learned in my functional medicine coaching training. So, I was talking about toxins and food, and a lot of things that are still important things, and they are part of living intentionally. But I've gotten definitely a lot braver talking about energy and how we create our reality through and the power of our mind. I did talk about the mind right in the beginning, but it's become more of my focus in recent years.
And what change and impact do you feel like that has made with that shift for your end user, for your listener, your audience, your people that are in your programs and in your membership? And
I think, we're evolving as human beings, and I believe that we are all on this path um to awakening to our soul's purpose, being in touch with that, whether you want to call it God or the universal energy or the 0 point field, or whatever it is, whatever, it doesn't matter. I think it's just different words for the same thing, but it's a universal energy. I think we are all getting closer to that. And so that is how it's kind of changing for me, that message, and helping people understand, the ones that are ready to listen, because not everybody is there. Everyone's on their own path, and I'm totally fine with that. But I kind of sometimes say that I help spiritually open people, the people that are open to this idea of, hey, I'm creating my reality. And if so, how am I supporting creating the reality that I want? Whether we're talking about our physical health, which is kind of how I came into it, but it's really everything in our reality. So that I feel like it's even more empowering. Sometimes might even seem a little bit scary, because the power that we have, to understand the power that we truly have, is a little bit like, what? How can we have that much power? But we do. We are emitting energy. We are energy sources. And so we can direct it when we know how, when we stop blocking anything from that magnificent energy that we are coming through.
so, in that framework,
Mhm.
if you were to start your podcast today, like it's a restart, like a control alt delete, right? How would you tell your story for the person that's ready, willing, and able to magnetically attract to you, as we both know how this works,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And we know that we're creating an opportunity for those people to find you today by recording this, that they know all the things that your first 200 episodes helped everybody else get to, right? So they're attracted to this podcast. How would you frame your story to get them to no longer be the victim and the martyrs that you and I are
Mhm.
so good at helping people stop becoming, to realize that, as scary as it is that you create your own reality, that it's also the best wand, or the best skill other than being a parent, I would agree, that you're ever going to have is learn how you create your own reality. As scary as it is, how would you
Mhm,
frame your story today? And what quote unquote happened to you, or rather happened for you, because you were down
mhm. Yeah,
and
yeah.
you created that. And how hard of a pill was that to swallow then versus Jane Hogan, wellness engineer, wellness by design today, that's helped thousands of others come through that journey and empower themselves, and the person that's ready today to hear this message?
Think you're asking the great questions, Kelly. When we understand that every one of our experiences are truly happening for us, and that is a big one, and it's a bold statement to say that what? How could this be happening for me? How could this? And for some people, it could be a horrible event or multiple events when they were children. How could that be happening for me? So I believe that we're here in this experience to have growth and learning. And so every one of these experiences that we have that trigger us, trigger pain, physical pain or emotional pain, these are all just revealing to us where we have the work to do. And so we can choose to cover it up and not listen to it, and it'll probably come around again. Or we can choose to take responsibility for it and say, all right. And it's a surrender. It really is a surrender
Hmm.
into, all right, the way I've been doing this, the muscling through the to-do list and, go, 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 hasn't been serving me 100%. So how can I take these experiences and truly learn what my soul is trying to teach me? And so this is individual for everyone, but we can let our feelings lead us. Anything that doesn't feel, um, I would call it on the love end of the spectrum. Any feelings that are not on that end are actually leading us away from our soul's, I'll call it soul's mission, from what we came here to do. So if we're feeling pain, anger, frustration, disappointment, criticism, these kinds of things are not truly who we are. So how can we switch it around? How can we not change the feelings and see things in a different light? Say, okay, this is happening for me. And so that was a big change for me when I realized, okay, if this experience is happening for me, what am I meant to learn? And I had to look back at my whole life and realize that I've been in protection mode, because pain is protection. Illness is protection. It's your physical body has switched into protection mode and things begin not working. And so then we get that physical manifestation. So how do I shift myself out of protection mode? What am I trying to protect myself from? Often it's the feelings of we don't feel good enough. Why don't we feel good enough? Why? What is it? Because we don't come into this world not feeling good enough. You're a mother, I'm a mother. Those babies, they don't come into this world thinking I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of love. They know they're worthy right in the beginning. So how do we pull back those layers that of someone else's message or our interpretation of events that said we were less than worthy?
As a mom, I'm just struck with realizing, like, as a baby, we're all adorning over those babies, right? And then as we start to get our voice, is often when we're interrupting somebody else's flow, and then we're starting to be limited, and then we have to overcome that. And that brings me to self-care.
Mm-hmm.
My questions for you is, I know you and I look at self-care very differently. Um, while we both, I would agree that, castor oil packs and red lights and all the things are great. But could you give us a window into Jane Hogan's self-care and what that's really about? Because you're very tender.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that impresses me about you is your ability to be so deeply authentic. From the moment 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago that we met on a Zoom phone call or something, I was like struck. And every time I've seen you since, when we're at conferences or so, I'm like, whoa, she's just so present. I didn't even know your work, but I knew who you were and I knew the work you did because of how you carry yourself. And I know everything I need to know about you by watching you navigate change,
Mm-hmm. because
change is so challenging. And one, what you just mentioned was noticing who we are. Step one, right? And then step two is like, what do I do about it now? And that's where I would say you and I have a different approach on self care. And if you could give your audience a little window into what that looks like, I think that'd be a great gift for everyone.
Well, thank you for that. I always used to say I'm a terrible liar. I could never lie. I could only be me. I could never be anything different. I'm also a Pisces, so I'm very emotional. So all of that kind of goes together. So I'm like, I'm out there. I'm out there. And so I there's no pretense of me. What you see is who I am. I'm not any different. Um, so when it comes to self-care, Kelly, and it can come in a lot of different forms, and it can come what might look like self-care would not necessarily be what I would call self-care. To me, self-care is self-love, and it's really about the feeling you have for yourself. And can you wake up in the morning and then throughout the day continue to love yourself without being critical, without without being critical, without making thoughts or statements of unworthiness. And so that might look like, having a relaxing bath. It might look like I'm going to sit under the red lights, but it really does come back to I am worthy of this. But it's not like I better do this because I read that this really helps get rid of pain. Or I
Internal dialogue is your self care, right?
exactly, because your internal dialogue in my functional medicine training, I can't remember who taught it, but the title of it was called Words Become Worlds. Your words, the words you're using in your head, which become often the words that you speak, but you don't even have to speak them. The words that are in your head are the words that your subconscious mind is listening to and then deciding, is do I need to protect this body, or do I or is it safe to express in a loving way? So if the words that you're thinking all the time, your self-talk, if that's like, I'm not good enough, not, and you may not even be aware of it, because I wasn't aware of how pervasive it was, and that it was really like almost an undercurrent of always, I'm not good enough. And so that message sends a message to every single cell in our body that says, not good enough here. I think we need protection. Right? So then things may stiffen up, things may not work so well, and eventually leads to illness or pain. And even if it doesn't come to something physical, like for a lot of my life, I was just emotionally on the edge, I would say, covering it really well. I was an engineer. I had, doing well with that. I was a confident mother doing well with that. But it was like so tenuous on the inside. If any little criticism, and I would just fall. And I sometimes still fall back in those patterns. But now I'm growing and learning more. Okay, that's just that pattern that I used to do. Can I just hold off for a second and see that there's a pattern here and interrupt the pattern?
That's so beautiful. You are such a gift. And you have had so many beautiful guests on as gifts to exemplify this pattern interruption to the
Mm.
system's programming. So you can
It-
design your own life. So what have been some of your favorite episodes and moments throughout this? How long has it been now? 2 years of your 200 episodes?
Gosh, it's on like 4 years.
4 years. Yeah, four
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. I can't even remember. I started it in August of 2020, I think, was when the official first episode came out. So, yeah, I've had a lot of incredible moments, incredible guests. And one of my like probably biggest well-known guests was Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, author of the Biology of Belief, often called the father of epigenetics. He's kind of like one of the first ones that started talking about it's
You're right.
not the DNA that's governing the cell. It's the receptors on the outside of the cell that are picking up on the environment. It's the environment that changes the cell. And so I somehow miraculously got an interview with him. And this happened to be scheduled because I had to work around his schedule, of course. Happened to be while I was traveling to a conference. And so I wasn't home. And I remember, I mean, it's kind of funny looking at it now. The hotel room that I was in had terrible Wi-Fi, so that wasn't going to work. And I couldn't get a place. They didn't have a business room that was private, so I couldn't do that. And so a friend of mine was who was at the same conference, was staying in a hotel room at the conference center. And she said, "You can just use my hotel room." Perfect. And I was like, "Okay, this is great." So I got up there and I got all set up, except, I didn't have lights with me. I didn't have all the great setup. But I was ready to do this interview with Bruce Lipton, one of my idols. And
It
I mean,
says mine too.
yeah, I can hear when I watch it now, I hear my voice like little, I can tell how nervous I was. And would you believe it? Cleaner came in the room while I was interviewing him. And then my friend's husband also came in the room while I was doing the interview. So it's kind of funny looking back on this now, but it was really, and he was fabulous. He was so sweet. And everything that I talk about, the title of the episode was something like the power of your subconscious mind. And he talked about this, how our subconscious mind is always listening and how we can reprogram it. And of course, all of this is now being substantiated with science, that neuroscience. We know that the brain is neuroplastic, it can learn new things, it learns really well by repetition. So I've taken a lot of those things now, and that's part of my program on how we do it. But anyway, that was a really super episode. Also nerve-wracking because of the situation, but it was fabulous. He was absolutely lovely.
Well, you're a lucky woman to have interviewed him. I agree. He's on my list as well because he is one of the greats. And like you, I get to see him like at conferences. He's so authentic and like a kid in
Mhm.
a candy store. You know, a lot of people dive down rabbit holes, right? But from your perspective, I'm sure, and mine, the deepest rabbit holes inside. And he was one of the greats to first teach us that.
Really, really, to teach us that the power that we have with our thoughts.
Yeah, really amazing. Okay. So I got the self-care question. Oh, this was really so you have, I mean, 200 episodes. Like, just that's a huge accomplishment. And I'm not, if you have decided, like, listen, I want to fizzle it down, we would understand it's a lot of work. But do you have aspirations for your podcast as you move forward? And, I'm sure now through what you've learned in your podcast too, it's allowed you to change some of the programs and the offerings. That if you could just kind of give everybody a landscape of how they can work with you beyond just listening to the podcast, how they get an opportunity to work with you either in a group or one-on-one.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love teaching, and I'm happy to teach, and I do believe that this is a movement. I believe that teaching people and helping people understand the power of themselves, the power that they have, is that is my mission. And that is the movement. And I believe that it's the evolution of humanity. So I'm happy to be part of that, however that looks. And some people are wonder, like, how do I do this? How do I tap into that power? I mean, they're not asking that question. Most of them are just like, how can I get out of pain? Get out of pain by tapping into that power. But it's the how do we do it? And so
How do
that's
I
what I do.
practically do this philosophy you're talking about, Jane Hogan? How do I
Yeah.
apply the science that you figured
Yeah.
out?
Yeah. And really it's habits. It's our daily, day-to-day habits, habits of how we're thinking, because how we're thinking changes our behaviors. And so sometimes we need to change our behaviors to change our thinking. So what I teach really is how to what are the key habits, and I've distilled it down to 12 key habits that that we can do, tiny habits every day that begin to create the shift in our thinking, create the shift then in our subconscious mind, which creates the shift in our nervous system, which creates the shift in our body. So if people want to learn that, that is what I teach. And I have different ways I teach it. I've got it in my membership. So I've got a monthly membership called Living Pain Free, where I lay out these 12 habits, and people can work on their own, and I'm there to support them for coaching twice a month, and I provide wellness workshops, and I go live every Monday in my Facebook group. I'm constantly trying to give them the reminders of keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. So that's the membership program, which I love. I've been running Living Pain Free since 2019. Like, it's been a while. And I've also started doing, I knew that some people in my membership and other people in my community wanted to work more closely with me. And I used to do one-on-one private coaching. I would work with a client for 3 months or longer. But I really wanted to help more people, which is why I started the membership. But there are some people that want more help. They want the accountability. They want the support, day-to-day support on implementing these habits. And so what I've got now is another program that I'm running sort of in a cohort, and that is called Calm by Design. Calm by Design. So my process with the 12 habits is called the Design Blueprint. So the word design is it's the acronym of the 6 steps: desire, explore, surrender, integrate, generate, navigate. And within those 6 steps, there's 2 habits for each step. And so in this Calm by Design program, week by week for 12 weeks, we're implementing one new habit in a very small group, where they get connection with me every day, coaching 3 times a month in a group setting, plus they get some private coaching as well. So that's the other way they can work with me right now. And I have some other DIY programs, but I think these are the 2 key ones that where I can support you and help you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So the impact that your podcast has had on listeners and on your own self. First, let's ask you, what impact has having this podcast really had on you in your life?
I feel so lucky that I have this platform where I can meet incredible people. I mean, how else would I have gotten to speak to Bruce Lipton, or, Anna Cabeca, to Kelly Kennedy, to all kinds of people? To have this opportunity to be able to speak to people, like-minded people, provide an educational platform, I think is fantastic. Plus, I get to do that as well. I get to share what I'm teaching, because every fourth episode, I do a solo episode where I teach. And the things that I teach are really the questions that are coming from the people that I work with. So the impact on me is that it's just allowing me to connect with the world in a wonderful way. It's shown me what I can do when I commit to something, because you're really making a commitment with something like this once a week. I've been doing it once a week for years now. And I forget the stats, but most podcasts don't last more than 2 years. Now, I want it to grow. I do want it to grow more and have a bigger impact. So I'm,
That subscribe button. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button.
yeah, please subscribe if you haven't already. So when there's more subscribers, obviously you can get bigger guests because then they understand that, oh, there's going to be more people listening. I mean, thank goodness Bruce Lipton didn't even care about that. He just said, no, I'm happy to, go on your show. Even, I mean, I was a lot smaller back then too. So, but we can have a bigger impact and get higher profile guests. And I'm really interested in that intersection of the physical and the spiritual. I always say I blend science and spirituality. That's what I'm interested in, because I know that people want to hear the science, just in the way we've been brought up. They want the science in order to believe it. But I think what I see is that they're intersecting more, that the science and spirituality is intersecting more. So that's where I want it to go, with more people that are talking about that, helping with this evolution of consciousness and understanding that it's really our consciousness that's generating this physical body, and giving people the tools. I mean, that's what I've said right in the beginning. I want to give you the tools to make that happen, and I really do.
And maybe you could, I know you talked about making like a little favorite episode compilation for everybody for the 200th
Yeah.
episode. So they can see all those highlights and be able to embrace that component as they trajectory into the future with you on their
Mhm.
spaceship into the now of really remembering that we have designed this beautiful life of ours, and we have designed people like you in our lives. So everyone listening has created this moment right now to be listening to this. And I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful that you found Jane and her work. And I'm so grateful that you're going to go deeper into your journey and have a beautiful coach to help you, and to have this podcast to share with your loved ones that, at some point in our life, we've all been the unicorn, right? We've all been the one standing in the field that feels differently than everybody else. And that's probably why you're here, because you have pain and you feel different than everybody else and nobody understands you. Or you found the answers and you want to go deeper into that because you want to feel even better. And then you want to drag all your friends with you because you realize that this is really fun.
So much fun.
It only gets better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
because we're not just creating physical health. Everything gets better. Our relationships, abundance, everything in your life gets better when you become an intentional creator.
I was just going to say, do you want to have the last words? I think those are beautiful last words, but is there anything else you want to share with your community? I am so appreciative of having this time with you today, but this is your show. I was truly just the facilitator, get them to unwind the package of Jane Hogan a little bit deeper. And I certainly enjoyed that. And I would love to leave the floor with you with any message you would like to give to everyone.
Right now, I just feel so much gratitude. Kelly, I feel so much gratitude for you for giving me this opportunity to share my growth and what's on my heart as we come to this 200th episode. But also, I want to just be so thankful and let my listeners know I am so thankful for them, people that have been watching and listening and tuning in and have subscribed. I'm so grateful that you have helped me fulfill my mission as I'm moving along my mission. I'm just so grateful. I couldn't do this without you. I would still do it if nobody was listening, but I'm so grateful for all the people that have been listening. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful to Kelly Kennedy for interviewing me for my 200th episode. And it just gave me a super opportunity to reflect over the last 200 episodes, what this podcast has meant to me and my message out in the world. And it's really been about empowerment. So, what I've done for you is gone over 200 episodes and picked out some really impactful moments that I believe really epitomize the power that you have in creating your health. So, the first one I'm going to share with you is a little excerpt from my interview with Dr. Bruce Lipton, the father of epigenetics, about how pain is really just a signal that you're not in harmony and you can get into harmony and change it. So, I hope you enjoy this.
Chronic pain. A, broken machine in regard to pain sensing. Possible? Very unlikely. Chronic pain. I am creating a behavior that's not in harmony with me. I don't see the behavior because it's automatic and unconscious. And that until I change this behavior, the system is going to keep telling me, you're not in harmony. And that's what the pain is. And so don't get mad at the pain. The pain is really good because it's the thing that can help you and save you when you need it. But if it's chronic, then it's like the lights on all the time.
Next, I've got an interview with a person I really, really love. She was also diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis like me and was an inspiration to me right from the beginning. And that's Dr. Keesha Ewers. And she's talking about noticing when your emotions are shifting into fear. And she's got a great little practice that you can do to help create calm. Okay.
So, you know how I said you want to do a pattern interrupt, right? And so if you notice that the frequency of your thoughts is going towards fear, anxiety, like you may have some anxiety listening to what we're talking about right now, right? And if you start seeing it and you're starting to ruminate on it past 5 seconds, right? You don't want to start a rumination cycle that then takes your body 8 hours to recover from.
Right.
And so what you do is immediately to interrupt the pattern is you can just do this humming sound. You can close your eyes, okay? And you can close your ears off. And you take a deep breath in through your nose and just go, and you're vibrating your vocal cords. Do as loud as you can. This is really good for your thyroid too, because it bathes your thyroid and your vocal cords with oxygenated blood. Mm-hmm. But what that vibration does inside your system is it interrupts, like it empties your mind. Literally empties your mind. It's called bumblebee breath, or Brahmari. It is a pranayama practice in the world of yoga and Ayurveda, and it's really effective for just stopping. Right? Whenever you're a child, I don't know how when you were a child if this was true, but I taught my children this, and I was taught this: if there's a fire, stop, drop, and roll. Yeah. Right. And so I say the same thing about your thoughts. If they're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. And so you're just going to roll out that humming sound. Stop, drop all sensory input, and just roll with the vibratory quality of your own breath going through your vocal cords. It will stop whatever patterning that's going on in there that you're starting to ruminate on.
Next, I have an excerpt from my interview with Dr. Anna Cabeca, known as the girlfriend doctor. And she talks about kindness and how doing something kind for yourself and for other people can really shift things and create a healing state in your body. It's a very powerful message. All right, I hope you enjoy this one.
Doing something beautiful and kind for ourselves and for someone else. So in that way, it's two things, because when we give love, give affection, give affirmation, I mean, that increases our oxytocin too, as well as someone else's. And you've now vibration of yourself and someone next to you. And because, especially as women, we don't acknowledge the goodness that is in us enough, that appreciating this body, this temple that we've been gifted, and this amazing spirit that has so much love and life and joy yet to experience, that we become in this state of denial. So by giving ourselves some acknowledgement, doing something that is beautiful and kind to ourselves, and giving beauty and kindness and affirmation to someone else is a high energy, high vibration, oxytocin boosting gift that just is a blessing and does so much to reduce. Oxytocin goes up, cortisol goes down. So the more we can do that, the better.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I love that because it's so simple, and you've addressed the mindset part, the energy part, because we are energetic beings, right? And talking about raising vibration, and then how that affects our hormones as well, which comes back to reducing inflammation in the body. And besides that, just feels good, right? Next up is an excerpt from my interview with Dr. Izabella Wentz. Now, Dr. Izabella is a leader in thyroid health, but just natural health and taking charge. So her message in this little excerpt is about the power of intention and how setting an intention, stating that intention with an affirmation can change the trajectory of your health.
One of the things that I found to be really helpful on my own healing journey, as well as in many, many people's healing journeys, is intentions. And this is something that can be very easy to start. And so I would say, I'm Izabella Wentz and I'm in charge of my life, or I'm in charge of my healing journey. And I would say to myself every day in every way, I'm feeling better and better. And I would kind of repeat that to myself on a daily basis. So this is like I set the intention that I was going to heal and that I was in charge of my life, in charge of my healing, and then following that up with an affirmation of, this is possible, right? So because I feel like if your mind believes it, then your body will follow. And it sounds kooky, but it does really, really work wonders. If you're constantly saying to yourself, I can't do it, like there's a different feeling and some stress hormones behind it versus like having that every day and every way, I'm feeling better and better affirmation. This can make a really big difference.
That was one of the exact ones that I used all the time. I love intentions and affirmations as well. I think it's super powerful. Just, you set it out there and like you said, the body will just listen. Now, the next excerpt I have for you is with Dr. Elena Villanueva. Now, she is a lovely soul, has helped so many people with chronic conditions. And in this part, we talk about, and she emphasizes the power of trusting your body's ability to heal, trusting right from your heart. She's got a wonderful message to share. Let's have a listen.
Believe in your innate ability to heal. Believe in your divine connection to source. And believe that your heart will lead the way, because that is the infinite knowledge that God has given you, is that infinite knowledge. Lead with your heart, and that will never go wrong. It will, your brain, it's a tool, and it's a beautiful tool, but it has such finite knowledge. Lead with your heart and know that you have everything inside of you to heal. And that if you are looking for answers, God is bringing it to you. Pay attention and be conscious of that. And then start taking action towards it. Believe in yourself and love in yourself enough to give yourself the time that you deserve to have the life experience that you want to have.
Oh, love that. Oh, so good. Next is my conversation with Dr. Darren Weissman. Now, Darren is all about infinite love. And we talk about in this one about changing your story. Tuning into changing your story about how you feel and how you heal. So we do a little exercise. He leads me through it. You can join us as well. And this is a lovely practice.
Now, the fourth part, which is so important, is about being open to change your story. Because right now we have a story. And being open to change our story is something that is actually simple to do, because it simply requires imagination. Are you open? Are you ready? Are you willing to use your I'm grateful and excited about the future imagination, Jane?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Now, when we use our imagination, we use all of our senses. So we see it, we hear it, we smell it, we taste it. You're in the future and you're living the life that is the fulfillment of I am grateful and excited about the future. And you open your eyes and you're looking around, and this is your relationship, this is your health, this is your home, this is your business. And breathe it in right now and notice your body, feel your body right now. I'm grateful and excited about the future. You're living the dream. How does it feel to imagine?
It feels peaceful.
And feel the peaceful feeling. I'm curious, where are you feeling it, and what are you feeling in your physical body that you're calling peaceful?
I'm feeling it in the solar plexus. Like for me, that area tends to be this part that tightens up a bit. And so I'm feeling now it's like just that little loosening there, and feels good, really good.
And do you know what that peaceful feeling in your solar plexus is? Do you understand what that feeling is?
Well, I understand that it feels good. I understand that I feel like that means that the energy there is like coming online. It's like coming to where it should be.
Yeah. And even more, because it is coming online.
Mm-hmm.
This is medicine. This is your cells in your body producing a chemical reaction that gives you that peaceful feeling. We call it mind medicine.
Next is part of my interview with Dr. Kim Duramo. Now, Kim was an ER physician, yet she could see this mind-body connection. So in this one, we talk a little bit about how powerful that mind-body connection is, and the story you're telling yourself in your life, and how that is reflected in health conditions, even emergency health conditions. So the power of your mind is the big message here. Hope you enjoy this one.
Well, I have been a physician and was an ER physician, so critical care, trauma, but prior to that, studied about how the body heals itself, how the mind and body are connected. So it's kind of fascinating to be on opposite ends of the spectrum and be in this really intense situation in the ER, but realize, wow, a lot of what's going on here, even in the most emergent circumstances, has to do with that mind-body connection, with pain syndromes that would exacerbate and people will come to the ER, or even like traumas people would get in because of these abusive patterns in their lifestyle, or like what they were subjecting themselves to, really had to do a lot with their own belief systems. So I sort of just like really, really paid attention to this and realized how essential this piece was, but it was like kind of missing in the field of medicine to really teach about how powerful we are as creators, and how so many people with chronic Lyme disease or Epstein-Barr virus or autoimmune thyroid, adrenal fatigue syndrome, or, fill in the blank, cancer, MS, actually had these patterns underlying keeping health from happening, so that no matter what they do to try to heal, or the best medicines or the best practitioners, it really wouldn't change that pattern. It would just keep coming back until their life begins to revolve around their autoimmune disease or their ulcerative colitis, or like fill in the blank, because the body is actually speaking to us and we're not listening. We're not deciphering like, what does it actually need? What it needs is not, let's just suppress all the symptoms and call it a day. What it needs is something deeper. But if we learn to listen, it's usually very simple.
Next up is Michael Roesslein, and he has recovered from chronic health conditions and has helped other people as well. And in this little excerpt, we talk about the power of focusing on something that we love and how that can change your physiology. But first of all, just noticing, how do you feel when you focus on this? All right, hope you enjoy this.
Think about a person or a place, or it could be a pet or someone or something, that when you're with that person or pet, or and you're in that place, or and for most people, I don't have to get into more detail than that. Like they already have someone or something or place. Like I was just in Sardinia, an island off the coast of Italy, and the beaches were like turquoise water and glistening and clear. Like I can still see that. So a place like that, or a beloved pet or a loved one, and like the feeling and sensations that you feel in your body and if you close your eyes, it's usually a little bit more effective for most people, but just think of that person or that place or the pet or whatever your thing is, and how your physical sensations, how does your body react to that? What does it feel like? And people will say like, oh, I feel happy. And it's like, no, what does happy feel like? Or what does safe feel like? Or what does warm feel like? Like, how would you describe it from like a objective, call it a symptom or reverse of a symptom, whatever the reverse of a symptom would be? How does your physiology feel? And just notice that. And for some people, it's probably a pretty pronounced shift in how they feel. For others, it might be more subtle. I know a lot of people with chronic pain tend to get really disconnected from their body, which again is an adaptation that is serving them really well in a situation that you need to titrate back into feeling safe with the body. But this is a way to do it and find places in your body that don't hurt and that you might feel warmth, you might feel relaxed, you might feel ease, you might feel flowy, you might feel solid instead of wobbly, you might feel, those are kind of descriptions of what you're physically feeling. And I would invite everybody to do it right now, but then also maybe fit 5 minutes into your day for a week and try that out and just see what that feels like. And notice, it was kind of like when I was driving home the next day after that experience I had that kind of shift my depression, I had to pull over because I was so like overcome with emotion that I felt better, that like feeling different was a thing, that it even was like a
Possibility.
that wasn't it wasn't going to always be like that, like that there was like another way to feel. And little glimmers like this can give people who have felt not great for a long time a way to feel something that's different, even if it's just for a minute, a few minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But what that proves is that it's there and it's always there and you can always access it. And this is just one way to do it. So
I love that.
How's that one work for you?
That's great. I love that because it really is a way to teach yourself that your body can feel another sensation. So thank you so much for that, Michael. Next is part of an interview I did with Dr. Greg Eckel. He helps Alzheimer's patients and other people with cognitive decline. And he talks about the power of your intention, whether it's a cognitive issue or any health issue, the power of your intention, because where your attention goes, energy flows. So what are you putting your attention on? Have a little listen. You're going to get some great nuggets from this.
Energy goes where your attention flows. If you're in worry and looking at like, it's like, don't think about bananas. Well, what are you going to think about? You're going to think about bananas because I just said it at the end of that sentence. So you want to focus on what you want. You want to find providers that address you as the heart-centered dynamic being that you are. You can definitely do that well meditation, breath work of you coming home to yourself, of having some quiet time to really get in touch with what's going on. We are so busy and distracted that we don't get time enough to listen. The answer lies within you. And so really, I just reflecting that back to you all in that, and you might be saying, hey, that's a bunch of hooey, Dr. Greg, like I have pain and I can't think because my hip hurts or whatever the thing is. And I hear you, and that's real. And look, I can suffer with the best of them. I can wallow in it. Like, I don't want to take any suffering away from anyone, but also know you have a choice in the matter. And you're hearing it here that maybe there's an option that you haven't heard about, like frequency medicine, like bioenergetic medicine, that gives you a lot of options. Now, so you can do the meditation, breath work, staying well hydrated, crucial for these things to work, especially with chronic pain. And also our brains, we cannot run dehydrated. So there are ways, like it's the non-sexy stuff, but it's so important to do, right? That's the foundational piece.
Yeah. So simple, but so it seems to people that it's too simple to be powerful, right?
Right.
But it is powerful.
Yeah. It's massively powerful. You know, the number one recommendation for me over 25 years is hydration. So, you know, I'm drinking coffee on this interview, and that's 2 cups of water is 0 on the balance sheet. Then I got to get half my body weight in ounces. So that I read a book early 90s of Batman Jolly's The Body's Many Cries of Water. He was an Iranian physician in prison, and all he had was water, and he has case after case after case of curing the body with just being hydrated. And so just as simple as that, I know a lot of people say there's no evidence for 8 glasses of water a day. I'm like, well, number one, who's going to do that study? Right? Who's making money on water? I mean, I guess PepsiCo now, but you know, I just think, you know, having good quality, good food, good air, good water, good mindset, like these are the pillars of health that are accessible to all of us today. It's making that time, getting that breath, maybe going to that well, so it gives you maybe some more space. Like, you know, it's interesting. Just see how you feel after that, and after your meditations of creating that, you know, honoring yourself, honoring your empress, the heart. That's really the message. Is the answer lies within, and it is your heart. We need to listen there.
Beautifully said. So beautifully said. Thank you so much for these gold nuggets of wisdom, and also for giving people hope. And my last little clip I have for you is with Elaine Glass. She's the author of Get Quiet. And what a beautiful message she shares. I think that this is a great way to finish up, that you are never alone. Have a listen to the sweet words of Elaine Glass.
You're never alone.
Mm-hmm.
You have a whole spirit team, let's call it, a whole energy that's just longing to support you, to say yes to.
Yes.
And so I want you to know that you're never alone in life and what you're going through, ever.
So thank you so much for joining me for this episode to celebrate 200 episodes of Wellness by Design. Thank you so much for being here. For whether this is your first time or you've been a regular listener, I just want to say a huge thank you from my heart to yours, that this whole podcast has been my love letter to you, and I will continue to do this. And I hope it's supporting you on your healing journey. And I just want to share what Elaine said. You are never alone. If you ever want help, just reach out. I'm here for you. All right. We'll see you again soon on Wellness by Design.